Have you ever felt it? That specific exhaustion after a conversation with a certain person, the feeling of being unplugged, a depletion so complete it feels like your very life force has been siphoned away, leaving you hollow and confused. You have tried everything. You have tried logic, you have tried explaining your feelings, you have tried setting clear boundaries with the scripts we have learned. But with some people, it doesn't work. It feels like every word you speak, every emotion you show is just another log on their fire. A fire of drama, of chaos, of endless need. That is because you have understood the conversation, but you have misunderstood the currency. You think you are trading in words and ideas. They are trading in energy. Your energy. Their fuel is drama. Their nourishment is your reaction. What if the most powerful way to deal with this fire was not to fight it, not to reason with it, but to become something that cannot burn? Today, we move beyond verbal self-defense. We enter the masterclass of energetic self-preservation. This is the art of the gray rock method. It is a profound, non-confrontational strategy rooted in a deep understanding of the narcissistic psyche. It is the conscious practice of making yourself as uninteresting, as unresponsive, and as emotionally neutral as a gray rock. In this deep dive, we will move through 3 critical stages. First, we will explore the psychology of narcissistic supply, the fuel they are desperately seeking from you. Second, I will give you the step-by-step masterclass, the precise behavioral and energetic tools on how to become a gray rock in any situation. And third, and most importantly, we will discuss how to use this as a powerful tool, not a new permanent identity. This is not about becoming cold or heartless. This is about becoming a conscious steward of your own precious life force. It is the next evolution of your shadow work. To begin this practice of ultimate energy preservation, I invite you to make a quiet declaration. Write in the comments below, "I am not a source of supply." To understand the art of becoming a gray rock, you must first understand the mind of the person who forces you to become one. You must understand the psychology of the energetic predator. And at its core is a single, desperate, insatiable need: the need for narcissistic supply. Imagine a person with a profound emptiness inside. A black hole where a stable sense of self-worth should be. This is not the normal self-doubt we all experience. This is a cavernous void. As Carl Jung would describe it, this is a psyche that has become completely identified with a fragile, grandiose persona, while its vast, insecure shadow remains undeveloped and terrifying. This person cannot generate their own sense of value from within. They cannot self-soothe. They cannot self-validate. They must extract it from the outside world, specifically from the emotional reactions of other people. Your feelings are their food. Your attention is their oxygen. This is narcissistic supply. Let's use a simpler metaphor. To a narcissist or a manipulator, you are not a person, you are an emotional vending machine. They have learned over a lifetime which buttons to press to get the reaction they need. If they need to feel superior, they will press your criticism button. They will say something cruel, condescending, or dismissive. And when you react with hurt or defensiveness, ding, a little packet of superiority drops into their tray. They feel big by making you feel small. The supply is your pain. If they need to feel important and adored, they will press your praise or love bombing button. They will shower you with attention, tell you how special you are, how you're the only one who truly understands them. And when you react with joy, affection, and gratitude, ding, a little packet of adoration drops into their tray. The supply is your love. And if they are simply bored and need stimulation, they will press your drama button. They will start a fight over nothing. They will twist your words. They will create chaos. And when you react with anger, confusion, and frustration, ding, a little packet of high-stakes drama drops into their tray. The supply is your chaos. Do you see the critical insight here? It does not matter what kind of reaction you give, positive or negative, it is all supply. Your love is supply. Your anger is supply. Your tears are supply. Your arguments are supply. The only thing that is not supply is nothing. Indifference is starvation. Let's think about Chloe, our 38-year-old teacher. She has a colleague, Sarah, who is a master of this game. Sarah often presents as a victim, always in a state of crisis. On Monday, Sarah comes to Chloe devastated by a minor criticism from their boss. Chloe, being an empath, spends her entire lunch break comforting Sarah, telling her how talented she is. Sarah leaves the conversation feeling validated and important. Chloe leaves the conversation feeling drained. Sarah just pressed the "Rescue Me" button and received a huge dose of supply. On Wednesday, Chloe mentions a small success she had in her classroom. Sarah immediately responds with a backhanded compliment. "That's so great for you. I wish I had time for creative projects like that, but I'm just so overwhelmed with all this extra work." Chloe's joy instantly deflates, replaced by a familiar pang of guilt. Sarah just pressed the guilt button and received a dose of supply by subtly putting Chloe back in her place. By Friday, Chloe is avoiding Sarah. Sarah senses the distance. She feels the supply line being threatened. So she sends a dramatic text message accusing Chloe of being distant and unsupportive. Chloe is now forced to spend her evening managing this new crisis, reassuring Sarah that she is in fact a good friend. Sarah just pressed the drama button and ensured her supply for the weekend. Chloe is exhausted. She thinks there's something wrong with the relationship, something she needs to fix. But the problem is not the relationship. The problem is the function she serves. She is a reliable vending machine. The goal of the gray rock method, therefore, is not to fix the vending machine. It is not to argue with the person pressing the buttons. It is not to try to understand why they want what they want. The goal is to make the vending machine break. It is the conscious, intentional, and strategic withdrawal of all supply. It is the practice of becoming nothing. No praise, no anger, no drama, no advice, no emotional currency of any kind. You do not give them the satisfaction of a fight. You do not give them the nourishment of your empathy. When they press the criticism button, nothing comes out. When they press the drama button, nothing comes out. When they press the praise button, nothing comes out. And a person who is starving will not stand in front of a vending machine for very long. They will get frustrated. They might shake the machine a few times. This is called an extinction burst, where their behavior gets worse before it gets better. But eventually, they will give up, and they will go find another machine that works. This is not an act of aggression. It is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of profound, energetic conservation. It is a boundary not spoken, but embodied.
It is the radical, quiet declaration that you are a sovereign human being, not a public utility. You are a soul, not a source of supply. And the journey to embodying that truth begins by learning the 4 simple but not easy rules of becoming profoundly and beautifully boring.
So, how do you become a gray rock? How do you make the vending machine go out of order? It is a conscious performance, the performance of being utterly and completely uninteresting. It is built on 4 core principles. Think of these as the curriculum for your masterclass. The first principle is to minimize information. Narcissists thrive on information. Your hopes, your fears, your dreams, your daily struggles. These are not just conversation topics. They are data points they can use later to manipulate you. The gray rock gives them no new data. You become an information black hole. Let's go back to Chloe, our teacher, and her colleague, Sarah. Sarah approaches Chloe by the coffee machine. "How was your weekend?" she asks, a seemingly innocent question. The old Chloe would have shared a story. She would have given Sarah information, ammunition. The gray rock Chloe responds with a polite but completely barren statement. She says, "It was quiet, pretty standard." She does not offer any details. She does not ask Sarah about her weekend in return. She has built a verbal wall. Sarah probes again. "Oh, just quiet. You didn't do anything fun?" Chloe takes a sip of her coffee. "Nope, just errands, the usual." The conversation dies. There is no energy. There is no supply. Sarah, bored, moves on to find a more interesting source. Chloe has successfully minimized information. She has given the predator nothing to feed on. The second principle is to neutralize your emotions. This is the heart of the gray rock method. Remember, your reaction is their fuel, positive or negative. The gray rock provides no emotional fuel. You become a calm, placid lake, no ripples, no waves. Imagine Sarah tries a different tactic. She tries to press the praise button. She says, "Chloe, that presentation you gave was absolutely brilliant. You're so much better at this than I am." The old Chloe would have felt a rush of validation or perhaps discomfort and would have responded emotionally. "Oh, thank you so much, but you're great too." The gray rock Chloe gives a slight neutral nod. She says in a flat, even tone, "Thank you, I'm glad it went well." She does not get excited. She does not reciprocate the compliment. She accepts the words as data, not as a source of validation. The praise button is broken. So, Sarah tries the criticism button. She says, "You know, some people thought that presentation was a little overly detailed, a bit confusing." The old Chloe would have been devastated. Her fawn response would have kicked in. She would have become defensive or started apologizing. The gray rock Chloe keeps her expression neutral. She makes eye contact for a moment and says, "I'll keep that in mind." She does not argue. She does not defend herself. She does not show that she is hurt. She has given the criticism no energy to stick to. The criticism button is broken. The third principle is to disengage from drama. Manipulators are agents of chaos. They thrive on gossip, on conflict, on taking sides. The gray rock is a conscientious objector in the war of drama. You refuse to participate. Later that week, Sarah comes to Chloe with a juicy piece of gossip about another teacher. The old Chloe might have listened, drawn in by the shared intimacy of a secret. The gray rock Chloe creates a boundary of disinterest. As Sarah starts the story, Chloe looks at her watch. She says, "I'm sorry to interrupt. I've got to prepare for my next class. I'm a bit behind." She does not judge Sarah for gossiping. She simply removes herself from the conversation. If Sarah tries to pull her into a conflict, saying, "Don't you agree that what he did was terrible?" Chloe responds with a neutral, non-committal phrase. I try not to get involved in other people's situations. She is a black hole for drama. It enters and it disappears. There is no supply here. Finally, the fourth principle is to focus on facts, not feelings. This is particularly crucial if you must co-parent or co-work with a manipulator. You must strip all emotion from your communication. Your emails, your text messages, they become as boring as a grocery list. Imagine Chloe has to co-organize a school event with Sarah. Sarah sends a long, emotional email full of complaints about her workload and subtle accusations about Chloe not doing her share. The old Chloe would have written a long, emotional email back, defending herself, explaining her intentions, trying to soothe Sarah's feelings. The gray rock Chloe reads the email and completely ignores the emotional subtext. It extracts only the necessary facts. Her reply is short and to the point. Sarah, I will have the list of volunteers completed by 3 p.m. on Friday. Please let me know when you have finalized the budget. Best, Chloe. The email is polite. It is professional. It is profoundly, devastatingly boring. It gives Sarah's drama nothing to hook into. It addresses only the facts of the situation. This is the practice. Minimizing information, neutralizing emotion, disengaging from drama, focusing on facts. It is a conscious performance of dullness, a strategic choice to become forgettable. It is the understanding that in this specific type of psychological warfare, the only winning move is not to play.
But here we arrive at the most important lesson of this masterclass, a lesson of wisdom and of warning. A rock is a terrible thing to be. The gray rock method is not a personality. It is a survival suit. It is a form of psychological chemotherapy. It is designed to starve a cancer, but it is not a sustainable diet. The performance of being a rock is exhausting in its own right because you are consciously suppressing your light, your warmth, your humor, your very essence. It is a necessary act of shadow work where you must consciously withdraw your own golden shadow, your brilliance, to protect yourself. This takes energy. And so the question is not only how to use this tool, but when, and just as importantly, when to put it down. You use the gray rock method in situations where you are forced to interact and where authentic connection is impossible. You use it with the narcissistic coworker, like Chloe's colleague Sarah, in the moments you cannot physically avoid them. You are a gray rock. You use it in a co-parenting text exchange with a manipulative ex-partner, where your only goal is to confirm logistics about your children. You are a gray rock. You use it at a mandatory family gathering, sitting across the table from a relative who thrives on emotional drama. You answer their probing questions with short, factual, boring answers. You are a gray rock. In these situations, being a rock is an act of profound self-care. It is a boundary of last resort. But you do not use this with the people who fill your well. You do not use this with those who have earned your trust. You do not use this with the people who celebrate your light. And this is the most crucial part of the practice. The art of taking off the survival suit when you are back in safe harbor. When your child runs to you after school, their face full of a story they are bursting to tell, you are not a rock. You are a warm, receptive ocean. When a true friend calls, their voice trembling because they need your compassionate ear, you are not a rock. You are a safe harbor. When your loving partner reaches for your hand at the end of a long day, You are not a rock. You are a home. That is when you must choose consciously to put the rock down, to let the warmth back in, to let your light shine again. This is the fear that holds so many empaths back. The fear that if they learn to be a rock, they will forget how to be a person, that the coldness will seep into their bones and become permanent. But this is where the journey of individuation, as Carl Jung described it, gives us our true power. The goal is not to become one thing. The goal is to become whole, and wholeness is the capacity to hold the opposites. The truly sovereign person is not the one who is always a rock, and it is not the one who is always a warm ocean. The truly sovereign person is the one who has the wisdom and the capacity to choose which one to be moment by moment. The power is not in the rock. The power is in the choosing. The old you, the people pleaser, had no choice. Your system was wired to be an ocean for everyone, leaving you depleted and drowning. The gray rock method gives you a choice. It gives you a place to stand when the tide of another's chaos threatens to pull you under. Let's imagine Chloe one final time. She has had a difficult day at work, forced to be a gray rock during a meeting with Sarah. She feels the familiar exhaustion of the performance. She comes home. Her partner asks, "How was your day?" The residue of the rock is still on her. Her first instinct might be to give a short, factual answer. It was fine. But then she catches herself. She takes a breath. She makes a conscious choice. She puts the rock down, and she says, "Actually, it was really hard. Can I tell you about it?" In that moment, she is not just an empath. She is not just a rock. She is a conscious artist of her own energetic reality. She has not lost her warmth. She has built a fortress to protect it. She has learned that her softness is a sacred resource, not a public commodity, and she has become its fierce and wise guardian. This is the ultimate goal, not to live as a rock, but to build an inner fortress of self-awareness so that you know with unshakable certainty when to lower the drawbridge and when to raise it.
Today, we have turned off the supply line. We have looked behind the curtain of the manipulator's game and understood the desperate hunger that drives them, the insatiable need for your emotional energy, your reaction as their fuel. And you have been given a new choice, not to fight the fire, not to reason with it, but to become something that does not burn. You have learned the 4 pillars of the gray rock method, the art of minimizing information, becoming an information black hole, the power of neutralizing your emotions, becoming a calm, placid lake, the discipline of disengaging from drama, becoming a conscientious objector in their wars, and the clarity of focusing on facts, becoming a surgeon of communication, cutting away all the emotional noise. But as we discussed, there is a profound and valid fear that comes with learning this skill. The fear that in learning to be a rock, you will forget how to be a person, that the armor will become your skin. Let me be clear. This is the most important part of the lesson. The gray rock method is a strategy, not an identity. It is a temporary shelter in a storm, not your permanent home. Carl Jung taught that the goal of life is wholeness, and wholeness requires access to your entire range of being, your warmth, your joy, your vulnerability. These are the treasures. The gray rock method is simply the fortress you build to protect those treasures from thieves. The true mark of your sovereignty is not your ability to be a rock. It is your ability to choose,
consciously, when to be a rock and when to be a garden, when to be a fortress and when to be a home. This is a skill that requires practice. It requires you to build a new relationship with your own energy and your own worth. So let us begin that practice now, in a way that is small, manageable, and safe. Your invitation for this week is not to confront the most difficult person in your life. Your invitation is to find one low-stakes situation where you can practice a single element of this method. Perhaps it's with that colleague who always complains, draining your energy before a big meeting. This week, instead of engaging, try minimizing information. Give short, polite, but boring answers. And just notice how you feel afterward. Do you feel a little less drained? A little more solid in your own space? Perhaps it's a family member who tries to pull you into gossip. This week, instead of taking the bait, try disengaging from the drama. Say, "I have to get back to this task," and gently remove yourself. Notice the absence of that familiar, sticky feeling of being involved. This is how the work is done, not in one grand, dramatic gesture, but in 1,000 small, conscious choices. Each choice is a vote for your own well-being. Each choice is a declaration that your energy is precious and it belongs to you. As you practice this external shield, becoming a rock on the outside, a new question will naturally arise. Because the gray rock method is brilliant at stopping you from projecting energy. It stops you from giving supply. But what about what you absorb? How do you stop their anxiety, their chaos, their negativity from seeping into your own system, even when you are silent? How do you learn to be a compassionate witness to their storm without getting soaked by their rain? That is the inner work. That is the art of building an energetic shield. And that is the essential skill we will master in our next conversation together. For now, your journey begins with this first quiet act of energetic conservation. To make this intention real, to declare your freedom from the economy of narcissistic supply, I invite you to make this commitment. Share in the comments below a simple, powerful declaration. I am not a source of supply. By writing these words, you are not just typing a comment. You are signing a new contract with yourself, a contract of sovereignty, a contract of peace. And you are joining a community of others who are also learning to stand unshaken.